Okay, so in the last video we talked about catastrophic events, but we talked about the weather type of catastrophic events. In this one we're going to talk about the geological events that occur on Earth. Now, like I said, just kind of a review if you hadn't seen the first one. The type of events we talked about were the floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, and blizzards. And in this video, what we're going to talk about is the second half of the catastrophic events, or the geological events. So we've got the volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfires, avalanches, and landslides that we're going to talk about in this one. Now, first up we got volcanoes. We've all made volcanoes probably in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. That was your science project. That was the first time you probably made one, and everybody was excited when you found out, hey, if I pour vinegar and baking soda together, it fizzes and foams out over the top and runs down. But then you made them again in the next grade, the next grade, the next grade, the next grade, and then you kind of get tired of them. The nuance goes away, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to add Mentos. Hey, I'm going to do this. What can I do to get more of an explosion out the top? Now, same thing with that. You have varying degrees of explosion. Well, the real volcanoes have varying degrees of explosions as well. Basically what it is, it's more scientific term would be, it's more of a cone. Some have more of a conical shape. Some are more steady sloped as they go. But they've got a crater or the vent that they go through, which the lava, rock fragments, and the hot vapor and gas are being released. And then at that one critical point, it'll explode and it all shoots out. Now, kind of like what we're talking about on this one here, you're going to go back. It just kind of has your diagram here. You've got your magma chamber that's down in the earth. So we've got the whole earth that it's sitting on, and this part's coming up out of it. So you've got the rock layer of the crust. You've got your magma chamber that this feeds through. And then as it goes up, you're going to have more. If this is an active volcano, it could have had been built up over the years, how many times it's been going, or different stuff. But you've got your main pipe or conduit that goes up to the top. You also have little branches that may go off throughout it as well. And then at the top, you've got your vent, or your main opening that you see when they're flying around it and stuff like that. As it gets more closer to eruption or it's active, you may get the ash cloud that starts coming up. And then when it finally goes into eruption and all, you're going to have your lava flow that goes down the side and then goes out. You have different places. Some places you may have civilizations, towns, and stuff that are at the base of a volcano. Hawaii is known for having a whole bunch of active volcanoes. You've got the Ring of Fire, as well as other locations all over the earth that have volcanoes. And then when they erupt, that lava goes through and it just wipes everything out. So animals, plants, houses, people, anything that you have, they're going to be wiped out, covered up by this lava, then it'll harden over. Everybody knows Pompeii, the volcano erupted and it just wiped out the whole town that was there. Now, in this one, it just kind of shows that him as the guy is right there on the crater of the volcano. Right on the edge at the top. This guy's in this heat suit and he is standing right there at it. So at any point, if it comes over this way or whatever, that would be not too hot for that guy. No pun intended. Now, next up, you kind of go to the opposite. From hot, fire, lava, and all, now we're going to hit tsunamis. Now, what this is it's a long, high wave that's caused by varying factors that occur on the Earth. Main thing is you may have an earthquake that is over here when it shifts, it causes the ripple, and it causes that wave to gradually get bigger as it goes. You've got sea towns, towns that are on the coast, all that have been completely wiped out. All the houses, everything's flooded because this massive tidal wave comes through. You've got your movies about global events that occur as well. They'll use tsunamis in there. You'll sit there and they'll be in the city and they look out and you've got this just massive wave that's coming in and it ends up flooding the whole town and stuff. Submarine landslides, that's just your landslides but that are occurring under the water. Any other disturbances that are out at sea, different things could cause the tsunami to come in. When they come in, I mean, they'll pick up ships because of the waves. They can, just like with floods, but on a bigger scale, you can have them pick up the whole ship, bring it inland. So once the waters have went back and receded, you can see where it's just wiped out the housing, it's moved all the stuff. This ship, clearly it's supposed to be on land, it's sitting in the middle of the land. You've got other boats, all that they're going to have to come back in to be able to pick up to haul back out. And this is all caused by the massive amounts of water that just picks up the stuff as it goes. They're floating on top of it, but then when it hits and recedes, it's stuck here. Countless damage that'll happen. And like I said, this is more of a non-land-based type thing. The further inland, you're not going to have the tsunamis. But you're closer to the coast you get, the closer or more high risk that you could possibly have. Earthquakes. You hear of earthquakes, you think of California. Typically, you're going to have, as far as the United States. Now, if you're in a different country, you may not be worried about California as much as where you're at. But that's going to be the sudden, violent shaking of the ground. Sometimes causes great destruction. The higher up the scale it goes, the more you hear about it. Now, basically what it is you've got your plates or on the crust that shift that can cause it. It's like with California, it's right there on that fault. So when they shift, that's why they have more activity, because they're on one of the major faults on the earth. You can have earthquakes all over. They even say that you can have tremors to where you don't really feel them because they're either far enough away or they just weren't severe enough on the magnitude. Now, like we talked about in the first video, some of these events have their own scales that scientists use to go through and rate them, or not rate them, but rank them as far as how bad they were. So, you've got these 0 to 1. I'm not going to go through all of them, but your 0 to 1 is going to be, we can't really even feel these. So, I mean, and this is more kind of a TNT equivalent type base. But right here you got 20 kilograms, 0.6 to 20 kilograms of dynamite would be the equivalent of one of these. So it's saying that if you had that underground, you're not going to really feel that. And it goes through, you've got the smallest quake is a magnitude of 2. If you're in the epicenter, what the epicenter is, it's where where it's originating from. As it goes out, but the center of it is more like is the epicenter. You go 4. I mean, we're up to 60,000 kilograms. You got damage done to weak buildings, and it goes through. Now, if you got a Richter scale of 9, that's 20 trillion kilograms of dynamite. It's a lot of dynamite that you're sitting there going with. Now, so that's why they say it's rare, but, so your scale goes from not even being able to feel the thing to all the way to just massive damage that you're going to have from this. Now, this one's kind of an example of an earthquake in Kathmandu, and it just kind of shows you what happened, in this little area. see where the camera is, it's starting to shake. So you've got the earthquake that's starting to go and occur. So see, when we talked about the scales earlier, your weaker buildings and all that were, that was one of them over here. This one wasn't as supported, well built, didn't have the structural capability, so it fell over, didn't have the ability to withstand, didn't have the support like some of the other buildings over here. So you can see where this fell over, it took out the cart and different stuff. Now you can imagine if you had skyscrapers and stuff, the difference that you would have there. Now, next up we got wildfires. Now, wildfires, once again, think wildfires, you hear about them, where do you think? Once again, California. So, at least the United States. They're all over, but you'll hear about them a lot in California. You'll hear that they're going through, people are evacuating and different stuff. Now it can spread quickly over woodlands, brush, and all that. Droughts that we talked about in video 1 can go with the wildfires. With everything being so dry, you get one little fire going, and before you know it, you've got hundreds, thousands of acres that are just all on fire that you see. You've got emergency personnel out there, fire department, wildlife services, all this out there trying to get the fires put out. And once again, we're talking about, you know, how this affects the earth, the environment, and all that. Wildfires, I mean, they destroy the nature, they destroy cities, people, animals, vegetation, crops, everything. I mean, this can, right here, whereas floods can go through flooding and stuff, your wildfires just can burn everything. So, you've got here where, you know, just houses, doesn't matter, there's no, hey, it's gonna miss this or whatever. I mean, it's just going through. Here you've got like 2 deer here that are out in the middle of the water. So any animals that are not quick enough to get away from this, it's gonna burn them through. If they do survive, then the problem is, where do they live then? Because maybe that was their environment they live in. That was their habitat that they were able to live in, and now all that's gone. Maybe that's the only food they ate. So now you've ran into, how are they going to survive? Are they going to migrate? Is that where you get, this animal used to be here, but now it's centralized here? Well, maybe at some point you've had some catastrophic event that has caused them to migrate and have to adapt and live somewhere else. Avalanches, we talked about blizzards in the first, that was just where they're kind of blowing through. It's a massive snow and ice that are falling down. It's kind of like the snow version of a landslide. You'll hear about, once again, around in this area we don't have these, but you get up in the mountains with snow skiing, stuff like that, you'll have people, avalanches, all that. What they'll also do is they'll go through and they'll notify them or notice them, they'll set them off to avoid from people getting caught in them. They'll be able to detect, hey, we need to go do something here, and they'll set off charges to set off the avalanches ahead of time. And last we got the mudslides, which like I said is kind of just, it's just a big old mud mess kind of going. It's caused by lots of rain, from either floods, just depends. If you're on coastal type things, hurricanes, all that, when it brings in, it could go. You've got gravity on the slope that can bring it down. So it just goes through different ones. Now, in this video, it shows you
Portland, Oregon, February 1996. A mountain begins to move, and for a contractor and his son, there's only one option: get out of the way fast. They had just gone head-to-head with one of nature's most powerful and destructive forces, a landslide.
Now, like I said, you're gonna have multiple, like I said, landslides, different stuff like that. But what we went through and we talked about, in the first video and this one, all these different ones can go through and can have a negative effect on the environment or the environment, the animals that live there, the people that live there, any of it. They can just affect it at all. They can pollute water sources because of over flooding or whatever. And like I said, I encourage you to go through YouTube and kind of look at examples of some of these. You'll see how major they are. I mean, they've got compilations of landslides that are just massive amounts of stuff going on. So that'll be on video 2, or that's it for video 2. If you hadn't watched video 1, then make sure you go back and watch it.